Now we are officially closer than ever to the return of Baby Keem, Kendrick Lamar, and, well, the effect that the best rapper and his influence has on the rap game at large. And if you are ready to see how in the midst of this monumental return on the horizon, well, something huge has been discovered in its full scope, and it just needs to be addressed because it's giving us a really strong hint for what's about to come next. Well, be sure to leave a like, subscribe, hype, and do whatever else you can because we are going to need it, because with the stan bases getting ready to get upset and pull out whatever excuses and lies they can on the people who run the rap game, we got to stand together. But before all that, what I am talking about when it comes to Kendrick Lamar and Baby Keem's secret diss track, well, as we are officially less than a week away from Baby Keem's first studio album in years, I have been listening back to everything, looking at all the clues given, and I noticed something that scared me, which just to make that point makes sense. First off, we need to just look at the idea that has turned into full-fledged fact at this point, that Kendrick Lamar and Baby Keem are two of the most intentional artists, not just in rap and in music right now, but in the entirety of music history. They are two of the most intentional creatives we have ever seen gift this entire medium ever. And with that, every single thing that they do is not just meaningful in isolation or in the moment, but as people who are around Kendrick Lamar, like producers and Soundwave, have begun to tell us, Sash, the circle they create in is so advanced that they almost have their own language and have their own society of some sorts that most people can't hang with. And on that note, by the time Kendrick Lamar is releasing something or even putting out a few words into the world in his art, he has already thought about the next step that is going to be taken and what the vision and message he is leading to well is. And this is where things have started to scare me, because listening back to Kendrick Lamar's runs since PG Lang was founded, and hearing the key music as well, especially on the replay, you realize more and more that these guys aren't rapping. But from the complexity of Kendrick Lamar to the more simple approach of Baby Keem, they make proclamations in their music that almost seem scary by how much they end up mirroring reality. And the more you look around at everything going into this new Baby Keem record, this is so clearly the start to something that is going to change the way we interact with hip-hop for the foreseeable future that I don't even know what to expect. Because from the clues we have already seen be made clear, like Kendrick Lamar teasing the album and the hand that Keem was going to come out with throughout his Grand National Tour, which even then just told us how Kendrick was ready for more and how his label had a lot more in the tank than he already showed. And then some of the other clues and parallels that I am noticing with this Keem album so far, which to me there are two glaring ones, with the first being with the LP itself and its tracklist size, which is 12 songs. And you know what else is 12 songs? Well, Kendrick Lamar's GNX album. And just with these track lists being split images of one another. Between the branding we have already seen Kendrick tease in GNX, and now Baby Keem having a tracklist size that is an exact mirror to GNX. That seems so intentional, and there is definitely a bigger point to that. But the question is, what is that bigger point? And also, what is starting to scare me just in terms of what these guys are trying to pull off is, well, seemingly now in the tracklist of this Keem album with the song Good Flirts, we have a new Kendrick Lamar song series of sorts. So clearly, and it seems like the cryptic verse, which was the only verse he actually recorded and intended to release in 2025, because the Clips collab was recorded during the beef, and that album was originally supposed to drop in 2024. Well, in Playboy Card's good credit, that record is finally going to get expanded upon, and we are just going to see more of where post-GNX Kendrick creatively is really at. Because to tell me that Kendrick's only intended features where he is rapping are called Good Credit, and then the new song is called Good Flirts, there has to be a connection there that has to mean something significant. And again, it's making me wonder all the more from the tracklist branding to the new song series that Kendrick has seemed to create without any of us realizing what does this all mean? But as Kendrick Lamar doesn't rap, he makes proclamations. We can try to trace things back to figure out more of this. And while there are distinct moments like the Black Air Forces track that told us that GNX was coming and rap was about to change quick, or Euphoria that told us the run of other disses was coming that would follow it. To figure out what Kendrick and Keem are doing here with this new album and all of the connections we are seeing, we had to search deeper and go back further into the Kendrick lore. And so on that note, while Kendrick Lamar, since returning to the rap game in 2021 with Family Ties, then returning to the big stage in rap with his first album in over 5 years in 2022 with Mr. Morale, and then of course in 2024 with the Beef and G and X, and 2025 with features, tours, and the Super Bowl, he has had distinct moments and chapters in his career. And well, with the way 2026 is turning out, from the Grammys to what he's doing with Baby Keem, we are seeing that next chapter ramp up. The 1 year that is missing from that run in terms of having these very distinct chapters that we understood, or at least understood enough of on their impact, well, is none other than 2023. And while this is the year that gave us the least amount of Kendrick Lamar music and moments in this whole run, and since the creation of PG Lang, when you look back on it, it was hands down Kendrick Lamar's most tactical year and his best year for strategy, as he gave us the most context to what he had planned and where he is headed till this very day, and presumably for the next few years. And specifically the song that is the most underrated genius thing that Kendrick Lamar has ever worked on. Well, is the song he released this year as the only thing as a lead artist. And it was his collaboration with Baby Keem where they seemingly made their duo name that will be important going forward. As let's remember, Kendrick did bring this up in the Boomin' documentary that Keem released to hype up and announce his new album in, well, no other name and title than the Hillbillies. And ever since this track dropped, it's really been a story and tale and never-ending loop of moments and layers being revealed as time has went on. And what I mean by that, the more time goes on, and no matter what songs seem to reveal and let us know about distinct pockets and eras of what was going to happen, the Hillbillies seems to be the very framing for any of those smaller chapters to even be envisioned in the first place. And as a result, it really is the very key to unlocking everything. As if we break it down from the day of May 30th, 2023 when it dropped, if you were outside and you remember what was going on at the time, well, the track very obviously interpolated the track Sticky from Drake's awful album Honestly Nevermind. And while back then everyone kind of just thought Kendrick was doing a flip of the record and most people were saying things like, wow, this is pretty cool. Kendrick and Keem did their own take out of Drake's song. Maybe they'll collaborate one day, which of course there was never a chance of what this really wasn't Kendrick and Keem paying tribute to Drake. But of course they were making fun of him. They were mocking him, and they were sending him a very clear message and disc that at the core of it was showing that anything he can do at the most derivative level, they can do as well, make it a lot better, and even get it nominated for a Grammy, which is what happened in the same year. Drake was also nominated for some stuff related to her lost out on all the awards he was up for, which that should have just told us there what was to come. But as rap was in such a stale state where I don't know if you were around at the time, you remember we were just getting so much mediocre music? Nobody was even thinking about dissecting bars because we were just trying to go a week without hearing new trash. I mean, I think it's safe to say nobody was even thinking about the possibility of any of this. And it took almost until a year later, until March of 2024, when Kendrick's verse Unlike That came out to well see that Kendrick was implying with Drake in the rap game at large. And well, he was coming to take back Gloria the Girl, or whatever other analogy you want to use to describe hip-hop, which, well, for Kendrick and Keem, they told us in the first line of the song what the next few years were going to look like as they declared, "We ain't going to take up the world." Let's just say that. Excuse me, but is that your girl? If she tell that's a good referral, and just with these lines, while again there's a way to just look at this at the surface, and I think a lot of us did this at the time and said, you know what, it's just a cool record or its lyrics are just coded in the typical rap caviar template. I mean, for Kendrick and Keem with them pretty much being in the shadows this whole year, other than when coming out to drop a song like this, and the few brief performances they did when they came out here, and the first thing that they did was tell us that they were going to mess up the game. That part is a clear ode to what they were planning to do then, and we have seen get rolled out year after it, which, while we don't need to go into all of that, when you hear Keem say, "Excuse me, but is that your girl?" There's a few ways to look at this, but all roads go back to Drake, because if we just want to play in the literal sense, as there are a lot more lines that talk about the type of girls that Keem likes here, well, this could be seen as him talking to Drake and saying, "Excuse me, is that your girl?" implying that he's going to take it. Which now, if we go back to Family Ties, which really now is in Chapter 1 of the whole PG Lang saga, when Keem said the whole thing about number 2 DMing a girl that he was seemingly talking about, everybody kind of took that as Drake sliding into the DMs of a girl that Keem was with and well doing what Drake does, which messed things up. Which either way you want to look at it from this angle, or if we want to go beyond the surface and look at this line, and honestly, it probably represents both. In a song that turned out to be a message to Drake and has foreshadowed every single thing that we have seen come true from the vision of Kendrick Lamar. Well, listen, as we also do know, Kendrick has written for Keem at times, and he has made full-on reference tracks for him. So we know Kendrick is a lead creative mentor for Keem. Of course, you're not going to sit here and convince me that the guy who calls his pen Gloria and who wore a jacket sang Gloria on the biggest night of his life at the Super Bowl to signify his love for the craft of hip-hop, and who of course has compared the rap game and his love for it to a female conceptually, which is also a hip-hop pillar we have seen throughout the decades of the genre's history, and MCs throughout all those eras do it. Whether it's Common in the 90s or J. Cole all the way until now, well, you're not going to sit here understanding all of that and tell me that this doesn't represent the rap game. And well, for PG Lang and Keem saying that they are going to take it, well, it's them representing how they are going to take the keys of it away from Drake or any other grifter who thought they were running things and who was in ties with him at the moment, which already was just playfully telling everybody that they were coming. And to me, when you just hear lines like critics saying that I lost the plot principles, yeah, I'd rather not. Messy about to come in hot. Which Keem says, when you just think about this a little deeper here and read into the subtext, would the critics saying I lost the plot part be about hip-hop losing its plot or its ethos, which it definitely did in 2023? Please don't take us back to that era. And then also with the implications of Messi coming in hot, and then also Keem mentioned as Neymar here. Well, that's obvious. Kendrick and Keem are comparing themselves to two of the greats in soccer in Messi and Neymar, who Messi is arguably the GOAT of not just his own sport but all sports, and Neymar has been alongside him throughout a good chunk of his career and has been a great person aside him throughout both of their runs, and knowing that, and then looking at this track as a declaration of sorts, and of course we saw it turn into that in real time, as we saw it go from being seen as a Drake flip to, well, a Drake disc. I mean, while this track is rooted in messing with Drake, it's going so much deeper than that. And I mean, just to put on my tinfoil hat for a second, as Kendrick and Keem are talking about soccer, and they are making that an emphasis of the track. Let's just look at this from the years of 2023 until now, where we know now it's Keem's turn to shine with an album dropping in the matter of days. If you think about them using soccer as this own ball's plot device and frame to channel all of this through as Messi and Neymar, well, as hip-hop is rooted in the US, and these are West Coast artists we're talking about, well, we know the World Cup is coming to the States this year, which is maybe loosely foreshadowing to the type of run and type of plan they've had all along. But let's just slow down and let's get back to what we do know for sure. After Kendrick and Keem keep bringing up this Messi and Neymar thing going on, Keem really fueled this all the more when flipping a whole line of drinks in Sticky where he says, Messi, get them girls off the stage because somebody's going to get taken. I.e., somebody's going to invade a one-on-one conversation, which just go back to that first line and read it. While it kind of sounds playful in the context of the track, when you think about it deeper and know the full background, it's honestly sinister. And the reason I say that is because to go now to Drake's Sticky and see that this is a direct flip of his line where it says, Hey yo, Eric, bring them girls to the stage cause some buddy's getting paid. Well, if Kendrick is Messi, Keem is telling him to get the girls off the stage. Where in the Drake song, he's telling his friend Eric to bring them on the stage. Which just with the flip of that whole thing, I think this disc is pretty literal. They are saying, Kendrick, get them off the stage because with Drake around, well, they tell you the rest. Somebody is going to get taken. That's just a straight-out disc. There's no other way to put it, which also does seem like more foreshadowing to some of the stuff that Kendrick would end up saying in the beef and just the general perception about how much of a creep Drake has been well before Kendrick may not like us. But if we want to go deeper than that, which we will, the more you listen to this track and even think about the concept Kendrick has made so clear in the G and X era of this idea of Gloria, it almost seems like the concept of girls here doesn't represent rap as a whole, but it represents individual rappers or individual pens. Because in Kendrick and Keem's exchange of bars at the end, when you hear a line like famous, but I'm not for sale, Why you trying to possess me, girl? I mean, especially after Kendrick made Mr. Morale. We know that he wouldn't be playing into this environment and throwing back all these lines where he is literally talking about girls like this as well. That was a major point of the album, of course. And so, just to be aware of that and then look at a line like famous, but I'm not for sale. Why you trying to possess me? It seems like a message to rappers diluting the integrity of the craft that Kendrick and Keem were planning to take back, and just something that disturbs Kendrick much more than just this superficial conversation with a female would. And so, just with this song as a whole, which also after we just talked more about the idea of what the girls could mean here and some of the lines really stand for, to go back to this line of messy. Get them off the stage because somebody's going to get taken. Somebody's going to invade a one-on-one conversation. You know, this could also be referring to the very idea of the Kendrick Lamar versus Drake beef and, well, Kendrick's pen going against Drake's pen, but Kendrick knowing that Drake was going to use writing teams and writing camps to dig up whatever they could against him and try and rig the rules, which definitely seems interesting and definitely feels like it could be in the realm of possibilities of what this means. And so with that, if we want to look at PG Lang and their run so far in phases, because that's really the way it seems like they have moved, well, Chapter 1 is the founding of the agency and imprint, and then the release of the Melodic Blue and Family Ties in 2021, and then Mr. Morale in 2022, and then the joint tour of Kendrick and Keem and Kendrick's Big Steppers tour. Phase 2 has been happening since the Hillbillies. And as Phase 1 defined who Kendrick was in this new era and who Keem would be going forward as a major player in the rap game, Phase 2 has now been about the vision statement of this song right here. Them going to take over the rap game on the most dominant level we have seen in decades from any act. And we'll do it to get them girls off the stage, get them away from Drake, and get them out of the grifters' hands who had it for too long unchecked after Kendrick went away injury. And again, fast-forwarding to now and seeing that they took over the game, and we have seen Kendrick turn the mockery that was so subtle to Drake on this track into a global phenomenon that reached the Super Bowl. Well, the next step now is after Messi has really been doing his thing. He got them girls off the stage. He won the back and forth, and he has been running things now. Well, it's time to pass the ball to Neymar and show why the future is just as bright as the now. And really for Kendrick and Keem, that's why even with the start of the Keem rollout, everything has felt so perfectly connected and well thought out because it has. It's been planned out for years. Every single thing that we are seeing has been going on and thought about well before we have received it. And even if we fast forward to the most recent feature we got from Kendrick in Chains and Whips, well, that's actually from the beef of 2024. So, in the timeline of rap, the most recent thing we actually have heard from Kendrick in a verse was good credit from I Am Music. And why that's important and why I'm bringing that up is because even if we think about how the next song to feature Kendrick is called Good Flirts, that's gotta mean something, right? That good in the title of both has to be signifying something that Kendrick has made a priority. You won't convince me otherwise. And well, hopefully it all makes sense soon after we hear it. And listen, while I don't know how far the Hillbillies mission goes and how far the proclamation they put out right here is really supposed to be thought out through, until what I want to say is that right now it's time for Neymar to get his turn and to have his moment. But something else is building beyond that. And it is so obvious that the writing is on the wall and there is something big coming for both Kendrick and Keem, even past that. And I don't even think we understand a quarter of it yet. But as we are now within a week of Baby Keem releasing his next chapter and next phase, well, we will get more answers very soon. So, in the meantime, all we have to do is just sit around and wait to see what the Hillbillies exactly were telling us about Baby Keem and his time in the rap limelight and his takeover that is about to come in days. And so now, with all that said, let me know what do you think about the full scope of the message of the Hillbillies looking at it in 2026 and looking at it just days before Baby Keem is going to release his album. I think this track is really important to bring up and revisit every single time Kendrick Keem and PG Lang are doing something monumental, because it seems like there is just more unraveling time after time when we look back at it. Then listen, let me know if there's anything I missed. Anything you think is important or any interpretations that you have got from it or that you already know that, well, you want to just add so we can get the best picture of what all this really means. Now listen, if you made it to this point in the video, thank you for watching. I can't thank you enough. I hope you're having a great weekend and be sure to leave a like and subscribe. It helps me out a ton if you haven't already. Hype the video too and do whatever else you can because we're going to need it. But listen, if you want to see All Right before this, well, I wanted to have an honest conversation about J. Cole that I think everybody in hip-hop right now should have a listen to. Well, you're not going to want to miss this one. So check out the suggested video, Heat. Hey,